live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Miq Strawn.
First feature, right? 1987 comedy horror sci-fi movie called Bad Taste.
I think that he did this for 30,000.
Really?
30,000 New Zealand. That's $15,000 American.
The population of a small town disappears and is replaced by aliens that chase human flesh for their intergalactic fast food chain. And actually, I like this movie up to about 20 minutes in, where I like when the head exploded and the stuff just started spurting out. I like that scene.
Right. Well, the absurdity of the makeup effects was kind of brilliant.
So, I mean, I approached this initially as like, okay, they probably want to look corny and cheesy.
Right.
Which was probably what they did.
Right.
But I had trouble getting past how bad it was.
Well, here's the thing. The thing is it was just not well done. I mean, the directing of it, the angles of it, the camera angles, how they were edited together, the feel of it, the lighting. There were just so many things that were
and a lot of it was outside. I mean,
yeah, but when they went in the house,
yeah.
Was,
especially when they had the crowds and the guy speaking to the crowd.
Right.
That was really awkward.
It was like, and they were trying to light everything with a single light.
Right.
You know, they had like deep shadows and there was like a lot of single light stuff going on. And it was it was, honest to God, it was beneath a student film. You know, it was a bunch of guys and it was and the thing there was also about it, there was no you could tell it was a group of friends that did it. You know, that casting had a lot more to do with hey, Bill, you're going to be this monster,
right? Yeah,
and Sam, you're going to be that, and sometimes that's charming. Sometimes it's not. In this case, for the most part, it really isn't. There are ideas here that are kind of cool.
Well, the whole idea is cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
the whole idea is cool, but it's rough.
Well, it was. I had found it. Even though it was a really simple movie, I found it kind of hard to follow, like what was happening.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially at the beginning.
Well, especially the first 30 minutes was very, very, very rough. Well, you know what? And the thing is that the camera angles. It's not. We talked about the 180-degree line before. It kept switching sides. And you didn't know which way you were going a lot of the time, and there was kind of a lot of those really, really amateur mistakes. I mean, mistakes that were that were beyond the scope of well, you don't have a budget or anything at all, right?
Right.
In other words, it isn't like there was a group of talented people that was given no money to do a film. It was a group of people that were given no money to make a film. They weren't particularly talented. They had a couple of ideas.
Right.
You know, the special effects were horrible, but they were so bad, they actually had their own
charming
style. Yeah, they were kind of charming in a way. Well, I didn't find the camera angles to be that.
No. Yeah, the camera work was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, really hard to follow.
High school level, like you said.
Yeah.
But there was one scene where the car hit the guy.
Right.
And that you can see the metal pole still sitting there from the
Well, you see, and the other thing is this, is it was incredibly regional. Not only were the accents regional, you knew that they weren't worried about distributing beyond New Zealand. Because
Yeah.
and I love the fact that the best car, you could also tell that this was their car. These were their cars.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
There's a good question. Where were there women in the movie? There weren't any women.
What women?
So yeah, it's a group of guys that were bored that decided to.
No, absolutely. It was a it was a group of guys. Where were the women? You know, there's so many other questions that would become.
And then Peter Jackson, he played
the
guy on the
he
cliff.
was the guy, being stretched on the cliff. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy with the beard. I was going to say the guy with the beard, but they were also freaking hairy.
They all had hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did kind of like the weird. It was like a Frank's. Parts of it reminded me of like Frank Zappa videos, or like kind of the goofy way of acting.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Like the guy with the brain that was falling out, and then the guy.
See, and that was pretty funny. But it was hard to figure. But the thing is, the acting and camera angles were so bad, it took a long time to figure out what the gag was.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the servant guy that kind of brought the human body, the guy,
right,
to get cooked.
Oh, right.
He was kind of goofy acting. Like that was.
Right.
It was like watching a Frank Zappa video.
Yeah, it didn't make any. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No.
The Mothers of Invention. That's what I was trying
Mothers
to
and and I love the fact that it's supposed to be like a government department.
Yes.
Yeah. You know. Yeah.
So did they bring in the guy that played the old alien?
Yeah, he looked like
he was a professional actor, wasn't he?
He did. He looked
Yeah.
like a professional.
I don't know
actor.
who he is.
Yeah, I know, but boy, didn't he stand out?
Yes,
in that
absolutely.
group? I mean, he absolutely. I mean, not even a matter of his age or anything like that. It's that he had a presence, and nobody had any presence.
And he had this way of hiding the terror on his face, knowing that this was a piece of shit that he was working on.
Oh my, this is really gonna suck. Oh, I love the fact that at the end of it, when they're rolling the credits, the art department, there was one person. Like literally, there was one person that was in the art department.
At that point, why wouldn't you just name the people that were involved in the movie and not really put what they did? Just have like their names.
No, well, that's what they did.
I didn't really pay attention that much, I guess.
No, if you took
for one time, I didn't.
Yeah, they said film crew. They said film crew, and they listed 20 people, and then they put art department, and there was one person, and then they said effects, and they said effects, and it just said Peter Jackson, and then underneath that, it said expects explosion, and it said somebody else, and that was it. Right. So that was the whole credits.
Oh, so Peter Jackson has come a long way, I guess, because he did the cinematography for this. So he was the guy that was responsible for all those wonderful camera shots.
Oh, he did the cinematography?
Yeah.
Oh,
and he edited too, so there you go.
See, and what do I say?
I think we talked about that before.
We talked about that.
And he did makeup effects.
See, you should never do multiple departments because
I have a suspicion that there was some drinking involved while they were shooting this, or some
magnifies the suck. Well, it was in New Zealand at that time, and I think everything involved a certain amount of drinking.
There are a lot of people on this, though.
I think getting up in the morning required a certain amount of drinking.
But Nigel Stone did a pretty good job of doing music, I thought.
Really?
It was really corny. Like
it was
the cheesy synthesizer stuff.
The cheesy. It was one
very
guitar.
80s,
it was
very 1987.
It was. Yeah, it was like a bad guitar with a bad.
But he did a good job of making it kind of sound kind of creepy sometimes, and kind of fun sometimes, and kind of both. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know, the funniest shot in the whole thing was when they killed the sheep on the mountainside, shot through the house. Did you catch that? The rocket launcher through the house and blow up the sheep on the mountainside. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have much to say about this one. The fact that it's pretty bad.
I did like. I also liked the headbutting the seagull. That was pretty. That was.
The shot of the seagulls on the ground.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Because he had landed on them. They broke his fall. So I wanted to bring up a couple of things. By the way, I'm gonna put this way down there.
Really?
I'm gonna go 1.2.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know what my lowest rating's been so far. I think I appreciated some of the gore. It was so bad that it was good.
Yeah.
Like I really liked the head with the stuff spurting out of it. Like that might have
That he
been
was
fun
eating. Yeah.
fun
It
to
was-
make.
You know, when he was like eating the yeah.
And I like how they duct taped the apple. They taped the apple to the guy's
Yeah.
face instead of putting it in his mouth.
Right.
Why would they tape it on there?
That was kind of interesting.
They
It was
used
like,
clear
why
tape
did
so you couldn't see it.
That's right. Yeah, it was like
And I want to hear the discussion
there
around
was,
that.
yeah, exactly. It's like, boy, that's like get the brain trust together and let's put this one.
So I'm going to rate this higher. I'm going to give it a 1.21.
Exactly. So there was a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. Shooting outside New Zealand has a kind of a problem. They have cicadas, and the cicadas
They're noisy.
are incredibly noisy. And there's a certain time, like from 3:00 in the afternoon until it gets dark, they get louder and louder and louder, and it can be mind numbing. I mean, it's.
I lived in Tennessee. I know what that's like.
Yeah, bugs,
Especially when they're mating.
yeah. Oh boy. So
That's not really exactly what they sound like.
You sure
This
about
is what
that?
they sound like.
You're
Let me
sure?
do a cicada impression. You ready? Okay.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
That was really good. You are actually very talented ventriloquist.
Yes. Just don't get me on stage because I might
Yeah,
I might freeze up.
yeah, exactly. I love the fact that it was fast food. Basically, yeah, humans were collected for fast food. Yeah.
Well, there wasn't really any plot, really.
No.
I mean, other than that, that was it. And
Well-
I was confused by something. Why were they not killing the aliens at first? Because they weren't supposed to. And then suddenly they were able to kill them. They decided that if they were in mask, they can kill the aliens. I was
Yeah,
I was confused.
Yeah, yeah, you were confused.
I
So
was
were
confused.
they.
They
So
were
were they.
confused too.
What I wanted to mention was the little car phenomenon.
Story time.
Story time with Story time with Miq.
Story time with Miq.
Story time with Miq.
Story time with Miq. Story time with Miq. Story time with Miq.
You know, I mean, obviously those were their cars,
Yeah.
right? And the old beater. There's something about using the old beater, Morris Minors, but New Zealanders modify those cars, the little cars. There's a car, I think it's called a Bambino, little tiny Renaults, and little tiny Fiat 500s, right? 3-cylinder cars. And when I got to New Zealand, I spent the first 3 weeks, I think, in a hotel right across the street from the main park in New Zealand, and the park had a huge roundabout around it, and all the streets came in, and you could be in the park, and you kind of like watch people go all the way around this big circle, and I'm sitting there one day, and I was watching or listening to a troop of bagpipers that were a block away. I mean, and it was like, for annoyance factor, it was like they were standing in front of me. It was
man.
unbelievably loud. I mean, one of them can drive you out of a building. They are loud, but boy, you get about 20 of them together, and I'm not kidding. From a block away, I could see them all the way at the other side of the park, right? I mean, just barely able to see them over there, and it was assaultive, And the thing is that I'm standing there, I'm thinking, why? Who lets them actually get together? It's more than two at once. I mean, I just couldn't figure that out. And I'm looking, and I look down the road, and coming towards the park is, it looked like like a head sitting on top of a bowler hat, right? And I was coming down the road, and I hit me, and it's this little 2-cycle Bambino car these little tiny cars, what the Maoris, enormous people, right? They cut the top out of the car and they moved the seat to the center and shifted up just a little bit. And that way that they're sitting and their head and shoulders and, like this much of their body is above the car, right? And
It sounds like a cartoon.
And exactly, it is absolutely a cartoon, and I just see one of them, and I think that this is coming. It's just one of them, and then he peels and starts to go around the park, and I realize that it's a rally, and there are 10, 15 of them that the cars are all modified like that, just a single seat. And like just driving, it was hilarious. It was just absolutely, it was like one of the most joyful things. And you have to understand is I got to New Zealand. I'd been on the wrong side of the road and I was in Auckland and I didn't know anything about this place. I'm not kidding. I did not have any time to figure out what I was doing. I was working on doing the original layouts of the show and basing them kind of on an occasional picture that I could get from New Zealand. This was back in the day, right? I mean,
right.
There was no internet or anything to figure out, what things look like. So
it was before internet and just after stone tablets. So it was
right,
kind of
exactly, right smack
right
dab
there.
in the middle, yeah. So by the time I got off the plane, and I didn't even realize this until I got on the plane. I got on the plane, and my wife had been doing research and left and right, but I hadn't even been home. I mean, I was, and I came in separately. They left. They were coming in 2 or 3 weeks after me. So, so I come in and I realize, if the door opened to the plane and we had been met by frogmen, I would not have been any wiser to it. I mean, it could have been absolutely anything. And the thing is and all of a sudden we were living in this really nice high rise, the finest hotel in town stuff that we stayed there for for 3 weeks. And I had no sense of anything of what New Zealand was like. I was still working on, doing the layouts and getting the office together, but I hadn't even been out, into all of it. And the first thing that I see that is truly of New Zealand, wacky New Zealand, was these guys coming down the road. And it was like, I was like, okay, I can survive this.
Right.
If there are people driving around this island with 3/4, with a good third of their body sticking out of the top of a little teeny tiny car, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a pretty good time for probably about, I want to say I had a really good time for maybe about 6 or 7 months, and then it started to feel small.
Right.
Then after a while, it really started to feel small.
Well, you're lucky that you weren't approached by those aliens with the ugly aliens.
Exactly.
And they would eat you. They
from
would
this
eat
movie.
you.
Exactly.
Jeez.
Exactly.
Flesh-eating aliens.
I would have made a really
Fast food hamburger.
I personally think that I would have made a really great burger.
Oh boy.
I'm just saying,
I feel like I'm more of like a chicken nugget or something.
100% prime beef.
Wow.
Marbleized Kobe. Well, I'm not Kobe, but
I'm processed meat. I'm like I'm a chicken nugget or chicken strip.
Bologna. Bologna. I'm just bologna. So, yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep, that says it all right there.
Peter Jackson. So Peter Jackson is and that boy grew up to be Peter Jackson.
King Kong and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there you go.
The Frighteners. I mean, what happened?
What happened to him?
I think he's a clone now.
What happened to that guy?
I think the guy that made the Meet the Feebles and Bad Taste.
Yeah, it's another
was cloned.
guy. Is it?
And this is the clone doing the Lord of the Rings.
Okay, it's time. We're done with this.
Yes. This is Kurt Thomas along with Miq Strawn. Thank you for listening to the Dream Warrior Review. If you have any questions or just have feedback for our show, we welcome them at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. As always, please follow us and tell your friends about us too.